Hello everyone, it's me, John Lorden. Welcome to another edition of BrainScratch Searchlight. Today we're looking into the case of Emma Fillipoff, and let's just jump right in. This one takes place in Canada. We can see that from helpfindemmafillipoff.com, she's been missing from Victoria, British Columbia, Canada since November 28th, 2012. So we're coming up on 4 years here. And this is a very well done website. You know, I obviously review a lot of these cases, and I have to say this is one of the best websites I've seen in terms of pulling all the critical information together. Let's start and just go through it here. Emma's physical description, she was 26 at the time of her disappearance, but she does look considerably younger. They're saying 18 to 20 here. She would now be 30 years old, so that might be a little bit different. Her height is 5 foot 5 inches tall. She weighs between 90 and 110 pounds. Brown eyes, light brown hair with blonde highlights, and very long past the waist. Could be braided into pigtails or up in a bun. She likes to wear knitted hats. For striking features, they note her laugh, smile, her tan complexion, her unusually long hair, no tattoos, piercings. She does have her ears pierced in the past, but it's unknown if she's wearing anything in them now, and nothing for any jewelry description. We get some quick facts over here on her disappearance. Emma was last seen in the immediate vicinity of the Empress Hotel between 7:30 and 8:30 on November 28th, 2012. We'll get into some of the details of that encounter in a little bit. Her red Mazda MPV 1993 van was found in the Chateau Victoria parking lot with almost all her belongings in it, including her passport, library card, digital camera, clothes, a pillow, assorted ornaments, laptop, and recently borrowed library books. It's believed that she used the van as storage. This is because she had been living on and off at a women's shelter. So I think it's very likely that once she couldn't afford a place of her own, she moved all of her things into her van. She might even been sleeping in there in some instances herself. But this is taking place during the winter. So I think it's probably getting cold to sleep in a vehicle. So that might be why she was staying more often at the women's shelter. She did have a seasonal job. She worked at a place called Red Fish Blue Fish, but apparently that job just wasn't working through this period. She had planned to come back to that position though. Another fact of her disappearance, she was in emotional distress, fragile, and vulnerable. And they're able to tell that because they have found footage of her in several places, and it appears that she's acting like she's being followed. For example, one of them is in I believe it's a 7-Eleven convenience store, and she goes to exit and she just winds up staying at the door and looking outside, kind of looking both ways, stepping back into the store a little bit. It certainly seems like she thought she was being potentially followed by somebody. Also, she was a journal. She liked writing in her journal. So her journals have been recovered and her family has been reviewing those. And it is pretty clear that she was certainly dealing with depression. I don't know if she had any clinical diagnosis. From what I can see, it doesn't seem like she did. It sounds like her family went through a divorce when she was pretty young. She took that pretty rough. She had some feelings, some very strong feelings, seemingly towards her mother, at least from the few examples of writing that I've seen. So I don't know. There's a lot of moving pieces to this puzzle, but it's a huge puzzle. No involvement with drugs or alcohol, at least no known involvement with drugs or alcohol. Not living on the street. No criminal record. No prior history of vanishing. For her not officially living on the street, she was known to actually spend several hours talking to homeless people. She's a very artistic person. It seems like she was very caring. Her family notes that she may have been too giving, that it occasionally seemed like people were taking advantage of her earlier in her life. So I don't think that would have changed as she seemingly moved away from her family. Her family lives pretty much on the east coast of Canada in the Ottawa area, and she's all the way out in Victoria, BC. So literally you can't get much further away from your family and at least stay on the same piece of land on this planet She seemingly moved as far away from her family as she could. Emma's habits and interests: she visited Central Library almost daily. I read somewhere else that she enjoyed reading there. She would sit in the children's area and read. She loves animals and children, may have taken care of an elderly woman at one time, known to be a very giving person, known to have spent hours talking to the homeless, very artistic, dreamy, sensitive, shy, quiet temperament, though everyone that says that pretty much follows it up with she was a great laugher. She would laugh a lot at people's jokes, but outside of that, she apparently was extremely private. Would rather spend time in the forest than a club, would rather read a book than watch TV. She loves the outdoors, camping, walking, parks, ocean. Vegan, and possibly dealing with an eating disorder. From the photos I've seen, I'm not sure about that, but this is her family that's putting this website together, so I assume that they have more information about that. You know, if she wasn't doing well financially, maybe she looks a little more gaunt in the more recent footage of her. Maybe she's having trouble paying for food. I really don't know. There's a few other things that happen where it seems like she at least had access to some money, but we'll get into those details as we move forward here. Wears dresses, has been seen wearing camouflage pants and carrying an orange purse. And they have a map here where she was last seen missing. Quite honestly, this is an excellent first page. Just the amount of information you can get from this already is all the critical information that you would need to try to identify her, to know where to look to try to find her. But outside of that, they also have a page with media where pretty much anything that is going on related to her is posted. Here they have a link to a show called The Fifth Estate, which did a whole special on her. I'll have a link to that in the description box below so you can check it out for yourself. I highly recommend you do. They do a lot of footwork. They have interviews with both of her parents. They put a little investigation team together that shares their thoughts with everyone about what they think might possibly be going on in this case. This is a really tough case because we don't know where she is, obviously, but we also don't have a great idea of where she went missing from. I found a map that's going to trace kind of her last steps, and we're going to go through that together, so I can share that with you guys. And there are other articles, primarily about her mother continuing the search for her, and other pieces of information that have popped up. There's not a whole lot of news updates, but we will cover most of those here in this video. They also have posters here. So if you live in the area and you want to help out, you can come directly to this website, print out some of these posters, put them up at local establishments near you. You know, coffee shops are always great for that. Restaurants, public areas, bus stops, any place where there's, you know, transportation going on, you hopefully get a lot of eyes on it. So if you want to help in that way, please do. And a very pretty good photo section here. We get a lot of different photographs of her. She has a very interesting look. She can really change how she looks pretty dramatically from one photo to the next. There is a picture of her in a knit cap, just like the description said that she would be seen wearing often. But we also get a lot of other photos of her here. There is also a link to her mother's blog, and links for what to do if you have information or how you can help them, including contact information, which I will of course copy and put in the description box below in case you have any tips. If you do, please forward them to the authorities. She's got a family that is really missing her, and would probably be happy just to hear that she's okay. Because quite honestly, one of the possibilities here is that she might have disappeared of her own accord. We'll get into that a bit more in a bit, but let's move forward on this. Emma Fillipoff has been missing since November 28th, 2012, vanishing from in front of the Empress Hotel in Victoria, British Columbia at the age of 26. She was last seen at the Empress Hotel between 7:30 and 8:30, observed being interviewed by Victoria police. And what had happened here was she was walking around this part of the city, and someone that knew her saw her, and she was acting kind of strange, and then she was carrying her shoes. She's walking barefoot. It's freezing cold out. So he wound up jumping into, I believe, into the Empress Hotel to call authorities, and they came out to pretty much do a welfare check on her. And they asked her some questions, you know, was she feeling like she was going to harm herself, or was she depressed, and things like that. She obviously did not give them any indication that she was in any serious trouble because they left her there. So that's kind of the last known official interaction with her. Unknown to family, Fillipoff had stayed at the Sandy Merriman House Women's Shelter on and off since February. On November 23rd, Fillipoff was captured on security video at the Victorian YMCA, entering, then leaving, then entering multiple times as if avoiding someone on the outside. So that is 5 days before her disappearance. I know the 7-Eleven footage, I believe, is from the day she actually went missing. So it seems like this paranoia that she might be being followed is ongoing for a series of days here. On November 26th, Fillipoff phoned her mother in Ontario asking if she could come home, and was told, of course. Unknown to Emma, her mother then flew out to Victoria, arriving at Sandy Merriman House at about 11 p.m. on the 28th, only 3 hours after Emma had last been seen at the Empress Hotel. The rest of the Wikipedia article pretty much goes through the highlights of the video. So if you do watch the Fifth Estate episode about Emma, I don't know that there's a whole lot of value in the Wikipedia article. It's kind of light, actually, in terms of what I usually see on Wikipedia. So we're going to jump to some other sources to get a bit more of the story here. From VictoriaBuzz.com, and this was published in 2016, just in January of this year. They have an excellent map here showing her last known whereabouts on November 28th. So we're going to go through this step by step. Here we got a section of the town that we can see, and all of this activity is very localized to a few blocks you can see here. Number one, police say she spoke to hotel staff at the Chateau Victoria just after 7 a.m. Emma had parked her van in the neighboring lot, but it was towed away. Now, interestingly, the Wikipedia article doesn't really match that description of what happened to her van. It says that the police found her van in that parking lot. I did bump into a comment on WebSleuths from WebSleuther Kokanee, who has some information they say is from the Victoria PD here. Her van was towed from Suki to 700 block Burdett Street in Victoria on the 21st of November 2012. It was then towed from Burdett Street to Chateau Victoria on the 25th of November. On November 27th, staff put a notice on the van. On the 28th of November at 7 a.m., she went into the chateau and asked to have one more day, which was granted. She disappears that evening. On the 29th of November, it's towed by Always Towing to their lot at the request of the hotel. Police located the van in Always lot, identified by its VIN number, not licensed. So once again, this is someone that has a van. It has all of her belongings in it, so it seems like she's having trouble finding places where she can park it for long periods of time, and it gets towed a couple times. So back to the map. For item number 2, we see that she used a bank card at 8:23 a.m. at 7-Eleven. Item number 3, it's believed Emma may have visited the library around noon. She would often sit and read in the children's section. Item number 4, she goes back to 7-Eleven at 5:54 p.m. and uses her bank card a second time. Now, the television special by Fifth Estate actually says that during one of these visits, she buys a prepaid credit card, and then during another visit, she goes and buys a prepaid cell phone. And it's kind of strange because she's never had a cell phone. We don't really know what she has this cell phone for. Is it part of her not feeling safe? Does she feel like she needs a phone to be able to call for help if something happens? It's during one of those visits where the footage of her trying to exit and then looking outside happens. Step 5, Sandy Merriman staff see her at approximately 6 p.m. when she leaves the shelter. Step 6, she uses her debit card to pay for a taxi ride at 6:10 p.m. It's a short ride within the downtown. Police will not release details of the cab ride. Now, I have seen some other details. I believe it's about this cab ride, but it might be a different one, so let me just put that out there. However, I did see some information that she got into a cab. She asked to be taken to the airport. As the cab started going, she then realized that she didn't have enough money to get her all the way to the airport, and the cab drops her off. So I don't know if that's this same instance or if that happened at some point later, but seemingly she's trying to get to the airport. Now, that initially strikes me as a little odd because we know that she has a van there. The van is being towed from location to location where she's parking it, so I have a feeling that the van may have not been running, and you're talking about being on the other side of Canada, essentially. For her to drive home, even if the van was working, would take approximately 50 hours. So a plane ride seems a lot more logical, especially if her mother is going to help her. I don't think a plane ticket is very cheap, though. I think it's like, $500 to fly from one side of the country to the other like that. So I'm not exactly sure. Maybe that's why she had the prepaid credit card. Maybe she was going to try to buy a one-way ticket with that. I'm really not certain. Step 7, sometime after 7 p.m., Emma is seen barefoot, clutching her shoes to her chest outside the Empress Hotel. Police spend 45 minutes with her before they leave. And then step 8, her mom arrives at Sandy Merriman House around 11 looking for her daughter. Just after midnight, Sandy Merriman staff report Emma missing. And that's what's really tough about this case. We know where she was about 8 o'clock, and we know that by 11 o'clock, her mom's looking for her and she is missing. There is a gap of several hours in there. I mean, even on foot, you could get, 6, maybe even 10 miles away. Now, if we do consider foul play, there was one person that authorities looked into. I can't find a whole lot of information on him, but I did find a little blurb about him here at MyDeathSpace.com. Emma had been seeing a guy called Julian. She met him back when she lived in Ontario, and according to him, they saw each other for a while, and she broke it off because she was moving out west. Coincidentally, he too then moved out west and coincidentally ran into her a bunch of times, including the day she went missing. He also sent her father a Facebook message apologizing for stalking Emma. Julian's first language is not English, and that is his excuse for using the word stalking. Now, apparently he was given a lie detector test, and he did pass that test, so he has been ruled out as a suspect, but I did just want to mention. And it does seem like it's kind of a crazy coincidence. I mean, she goes to the other side of the country, and all of a sudden, her ex-boyfriend is out there, and he's bumping into her at places. It certainly seems like he should have been looked into, but apparently he's been ruled out. Back to the article at VictoriaBuzz. One possible person of interest is in CCTV footage from a Vancouver store. The 2014 surveillance video shows a man in Gastown clothing store holding a crumpled poster in his right hand. The poster was one of the many distributed by Shelley, that's Emma's mother, offering a reward of $25,000 for Emma's safe recovery. The store owner reported that the man was irritated and claiming Emma was his girlfriend and that she wanted to be left alone. Police have not been able to identify him. The man is described as walking with a limp that suggests he may have a prosthetic leg and has an arm sleeve flame tattoo on both arms. Here are some photos of the man, and from what I've looked into, he still has not been identified, which I'm kind of amazed by because some of these photos are they're pretty clear, and if he lived in that area, I'm not sure why they haven't been able to track him down, but it seems to me like there's some footwork in terms of finding this guy that could still be done out there. So I just wanted to share that with all of you. But as far as I know, no one knows who this guy is right now. But apparently he says that he's her boyfriend. Now, if going through your daughter being missing isn't terrible enough, we do have some other news here related to her mother. Shelley Fillipoff, mother of missing woman, blames son for cocaine weapons found in her home. This is from August of 2016. During raids in 2015, OPP, which I had to look up, that stands for the Ontario Provincial Police, OPP found cocaine, marijuana, bundles of cash, a sawed-off shotgun, a double-barrel shotgun, ammunition, and a switchblade at Shelley Fillipoff's home in Lanark County, southwest of Ottawa. She was charged with laundering the proceeds of crime, possession of cocaine for the purpose of trafficking, marijuana possession, unauthorized possession of a prohibited or restricted firearm, and unauthorized possession of a firearm. Her son, a real estate agent OPP alleged was supplying cocaine to street-level traffickers in Lanark County, was charged with 3 counts of possessing various drugs for the purpose of trafficking, fleeing police, dangerous operation of a vehicle, 2 firearms-related charges, and possession of property over $5,000 obtained by crime. Quote, I was in no way aware of what Matthew was doing. It goes without saying that Matthew didn't announce to me, his mother, what he was up to. So, feel horrible for this woman. She's certainly going through some things. Now, apparently, social media has gripped onto this new story, and a lot of nasty things have been said about her. She is insisting that, look, these charges have nothing to do with Emma missing. These are 2 separate things. We need to focus on finding Emma. And I tend to agree with her. However, it does raise a question for me between, did something happen to Emma, or did she really disappear of her own accord? One of the aspects that they go into in the special done by the Fifth Estate is it possible that she had killed herself? And they look at some of her writing, and most of the experts there say it doesn't seem like it. According to the writing, this is not a suicide note. And they featured some of the writing in the special, and I have to say it's extremely artistic. She's speaking from the point of being dead, but she's doing so in an artistic way. I personally didn't feel like it was a straight up suicide note either. So you have to consider, was she taken by someone? Did she disappear of her own accord? And when you look into the backstory of her having kind of trouble with her family, and I don't know the full extent of this, but obviously she's dealing with some type of depression. She's moved to the opposite coast of where her family lives. It seems like she was trying to get away from them. She might have not officially run away, as the family's website is clear to state, but in terms of where she was going with her life, and she was certainly moving away from them. It could be that, after talking to her mom and saying, I want to come home, and this is a pretty important piece, and I really don't know the truth of it. Did she know that her mom was going to come out and try to collect her? Did maybe her mom say something on that phone call of, do you want me to come out? I'm going to come out. That might have been enough to freak her out and to potentially make her run. They did find her prepaid credit card. Apparently someone used it to try to buy cigarettes. And I think it was a pretty considerable distance away from the part of town where she was frequenting. He took police to the location where he found it, which was just kind of on the side of a road. Once again, is this her just ditching the card? Is this her putting together this whole scheme of making it look like she was abducted so no one would... I mean, even that doesn't make sense. I mean, if people thought she was abducted, people are going to be looking for her. I really don't know. Obviously, you can see my brain is just in a total twist over this. But things we have to consider: is she really running away of her own accord? Was she taken by someone? Has something else happened to her? Did she hurt herself in some way? And that's a bit of a tough one for me to believe too, because we don't have a body. And I don't think it's impossible, but I think generally when people harm themselves, we eventually find the body. And here we are 4 years later, and she still hasn't been located. So personally, from where I'm looking at this right now, in my gut, I feel like she wanted to disappear. I feel like she probably just felt like all those personal items in her van just didn't mean that much to her, and she just wanted a fresh run at life. But that's just looking at it from a very outside perspective. And quite honestly, while researching this case, I was really surprised that right now there's a lot of news articles, particularly about her mother's charges that she's facing with the stuff that the brother was doing. But some of the news articles about Emma's disappearance are already starting to not work. Some of the websites that used to have profiles on her don't have them anymore. It certainly seems like the information around her disappearance is kind of drying up. So that's part of the reason why I wanted to do this episode of Searchlight specifically for Emma. And it was also recommended by a brain scratcher out there named Erica, who gave me a good footwork in terms of some information she had found and some links that she had found. So thank you so much, Erica, for the research help. I truly, truly appreciate it. On top of that, there is also a podcast. I think it's called the Nighttime Podcast, if I remember right. They apparently have recently done 3 episodes about this case. On the second episode, they have the hosts from the Mara Murray podcast, which I know many of you out there like, featured. So if you're into that, I will have a link for that in the description box down below, so you can check all of that out as well. All right, brain scratchers, here's where I turn it over to you. Please use the comments below. Tell me your thoughts. What do you think is going on with Emma? Please share this video with other people in, I think it's just in Western Canada, but who knows? She really could be anywhere by now. And if one of you out there does have some information about where Emma is, please, please get it to the authorities. I don't know. I hope she's okay out there somewhere, and I hope someday her family gets the message that she's okay, even if she doesn't want to see them or if she wants to stay removed. It's just really important that they at least hear that she's doing what she wants to do instead of something bad or tragic happening to her. So I truly hope that's what happens in this case. Thank you so much for joining me on this edition of BrainScratch Searchlight. I will catch you on the next show on the Lord and Arch channel. Take care of yourself and have a nice day.